Hello, fabulous Capricorn. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of April 2015. General focus. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is such an important month for you. We have an eclipse happening. It's a game-changing eclipse for all of us. All of us. I've been saying this in all the videos. All of us in some way will be having our own moment of truth. Airing of grievances, cards on the table, no more sweeping things under the rug, everything out in the open. For better or for worse, everything is going to come forward in at least one area of life, so don't worry. If there's another area of life not affected by this, doesn't mean everything is coming out, because we all have our secrets and here and there, one way or another. Private things, of course. However, all of us in some way are going to experience things coming out in the open, to help us to take an honest evaluation of where we are and to help us to put our lives on a more inspired, more loving path, a path with more opportunity and more prosperity at that. And for you, this eclipse becomes that much more important, largely because this eclipse is happening at the very top of your chart. Later on, the second part of the month, there's a new moon at the very bottom of your chart. So this is a key axis that plays out in the chart. And sort of, we can say, sensitive parts of the sky. When we have the highest place in the sky and the lowest, these are some very sensitive areas of your sky and speak to more sweeping changes, not as isolated changes as they might otherwise for people of other signs. Now, those of you born right around the 4th or 5th of the month, regardless of what month, but around the 4th or 5th of the month, for those of your signs around the 4th or 5th of January, give or take a few days on either side, are going to feel this eclipse that much more. But everyone of every sign will be experiencing a notable change in at least one area of life, and every one of your sign will be experiencing a notable change in the realm of career, relationship to bosses, promotions, advancements, and also a sense of purpose, life purpose as well. All of these set to go through changes for all Capricornians out there in one way or another. So let's break it down. I do think that this does represent a shift in career and the path that you are walking. So those of you who are on a career path, either you're going to experience sort of a dramatic change in that realm, or which ultimately, as I said, puts you on a path that feels more prosperous. And I got to say, when I say dramatic change, what I mean is I think a lot of Capricornians out there are going to have this moment of truth that says, wow, I've been on this career road for this long, and I don't really think this is who I am anymore. I don't really think this is what I want to do anymore. I don't really think that this is the direction I want to keep traveling. You might have some sort of opportunity come out of nowhere, something that you wanted a way long time ago, and now it's sort of come up again, quite by surprise. And then that will be your moment that says, okay, this is where I'm meant to go. You will know. But I think for a lot of Capricornians out there, the idea of a full moon eclipse, ultimately full moons have to do with things reaching fruition. Not always as much with something new. And so this could be a process of advancement that comes to fruition, something you've been going for a long time. Finally, you hear and you're able to move your life forward. But this could also be you, as I said, saying, I've been walking down this road that I don't want to be walking down anymore. This doesn't feel like who I am anymore. And so that's going to be up to you to have that sort of moment of honesty. But I think also a lot of Capricornians out there are going to be experiencing, as I said, this also has to do with your bosses. So it could be that a boss leaves at this time. Likely a female boss, okay, possibly. But it could be somebody in a position of authority where they decide that they're going to move forward, okay, or move on, change departments, whatever the case may be. So this will bring a change in sort of the hierarchy of wherever it is that you work. Hierarchical change. So not so much change laterally. This is a change in terms of the chain of command, if you will. There should be some changes along those lines. this tends to be, when we have this type of phenomenon, this tends to be a good sky for interview situation, advancement situation, okay? But just be prepared for things not necessarily going the way that you think they're going to go. So when I see a sky like this, you know, I'm reminded of, I remember my uncle many, many years back. It made such an impression on me, this story, because it was so long ago. But he walked into this job. He thought it was going to be the greatest job ever, and he interviews for it. And, you know, they ask him some questions, and he's, you know, he thought, well, you know, if I say it this way, it's not exactly what they're looking for, but it's more honest. So he decided to be honest, and he shared it. And then the person said, okay, I'm going to come right back. I don't know if you're right for this role, but just give me a few moments. I'm going to come right back. The person leaves, enters back into the room like 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, and my uncle gets offered this job with a major company that is way better and more money than what he had initially gone in for. So he thought he was going in for something fabulous, something amazing that he really wanted. In the moment, he got a little nervous when he realized like what he's actually experienced in might be a little different than what they're looking for. And they came back at him and said, we want you for this whole other role that he wasn't even prepared for, that ended up being much more to his advantage. And he's actually still with that company today. It's many, many years now. And that's the type of scenario. As I looked at the sky, I thought of that type of scenario for you, where literally it is going to be sort of an uncomfortable moment, putting cards on the table, having to be honest. It might just end up being something like that, but ultimately works very much to your advantage. Okay, so trust your passion in the moment. A part of you might be like, oh God, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. But it's the truth. But, you know, I don't know if they're going to like it. And it ends up working in your favor. It might even be, I do think that for some Capricornians out there, if you're interviewing for a promotion or a new job, it might actually be while you're interviewing that you realize that you really don't want to do this, that you want to do something totally different, that you want to apply for something totally different. So these are the types of scenarios I'm seeing as possibilities playing out for you under this particular eclipse. So changes in bosses, changes in career, changes on that in the hierarchy as well. Now this part of the sky also has to do with purpose, right? Life purpose, what you understand is worth going towards. And I think that a lot of Capricornians out there actually are going to have sort of this moment, if you will, like a moment of truth, if you will, where you realize that a certain path that you've been going on is not in alignment with that higher calling, that higher vision. So how much are you going to now make an adjustment? Where is it that you sort of let, you know, what it is that you really felt passionate about at one time sort of fall to the side so that you could instead get caught up in something else that, whether it ended up being better or not, is in some way disconnected to something that gives you a sense of purpose and meaning. So this can also be the opportunity to infuse meaning in what you do and see it differently and realize how it actually is a part of how you are fulfilling your life purpose, which I actually think if you're everything, I mean, I'm very much of the belief everything is spiritual. The most mundane, the most reviled, ultimately has the potential to allow us to express something more divine, allow us to bring forward greater love and greater wisdom. And so this could very well be, for some Capricornians out there, that very moment, that very clarity, that this is what the universe is now granting you the opportunity to do. So this is all happening early in the month. Changes taking place for you on the career front, on the front of understanding how high you want to go in this lifetime as well. I do think that some of these understandings, it might be a family member, possibly a parent, a conversation with them that sort of instigates this for you. So you might find yourself sort of having to justify. I gotta say, a few of you out there might feel like you're justifying your career choices to a parent, and that in turn leads you to get more in touch with the importance of what you do, to understand and refine not only the meaning you give what you do, but also the actual what you are doing as well. So that might actually play a part of it. Towards the later part of the month, the energy does shift. Energy always shifts, right? Energy always changes. And towards the later part of the month, we have a new moon taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with what's happening on the home front. At the very bottom of your chart, again, a very sensitive part of the sky. This has to do with you coming to a deepening understanding of home base for you. What is home? How do you define it? And this is a fresh start in the area of home as well. So I do think that some Capricornians out there, under this particular sky, it could be now home. You think of home, you think of family of origin. It could be that your parents or your family of origin needs more of your attention, or you are called to a reunion of sorts, and having to spend a little bit more time with your family of origin could come up as well. Now, I'm not seeing anything here that, you know, suggests anything very serious, right? Nothing with this particular new moon, sort of the next thing it does, if you will, even though on the way to becoming new, like way before it becomes new, it is having some conversations, it's meeting Uranus, it's speaking with Pluto. So that can indicate a little bit of tension, a little bit of uncertainty. So it might actually be triggered by a conversation early in the month that leads to some tension. But ultimately, once this new moon happens, the next thing it does is speak in harmony with Neptune. So what that means is that faith is restored, ultimately, is what this comes down to. So if anything, for those of you, small percentage of you, if you feel some sort of family drama in the early part of the month, it will be it'll give way to a greater sense of connection and give way to a softening, if you will, that restores a sense of harmony for everybody involved. This part of the sky is also like home, like where you live. And so you could be seeing changes on the home front, whether it's redecorating, buying, selling, moving, new roommates, all of that tends to be indicated. Not lots of solid energy around this, but lots of inspired energy around this, as I said. So it might be that a need arises. So it could actually end up being something like repairs. A need arises, but you find your solution. So nothing to worry about there. I would say this is Aries. And again, as I said, moon meeting Uranus. I got to say, small percentage of you, just make sure that the electrical stuff is all going well, okay? And if you're not using it, don't leave it plugged in. I do think that is a good rule to live by, but especially under a new moon like this, again, it leads in an inspired direction. So if something should happen, it does seem like let's say something happens with your toaster because you left it plugged in. Well, you're going to buy an even better toaster. You'll use it as an excuse. Like, it's that type of sky. So nothing major, but on the home front, you are going to be having to pay attention to what's happening there. And there will be some changes taking place there as well for you. So this is new starts, fresh beginnings on the home front, new changes, as I said, changing whether it's aesthetically or you're actually changing homes. It does look like a time of change. This also, just on a personal level, has to do with the Fortress of Solitude. This part of the sky is the Fortress of Solitude. This is the part of the sky that has to do with understanding that you need to spend some time on your own to recharge, to connect with who you are, what you really want to do, and to work on things that matter to you most as well. So sometimes, just like Superman, you need to get away to a place that's all your own so that you can sort of process information, connect to your higher wisdom, which is what that whole mythology with him connecting to the spirit of his father, ultimately that is sort of a metaphor for his higher self. Well, that's the type of energy that's playing out here also with this particular new moon, needing to sort of step away from the crowd so that you can connect to a voice of wisdom within you. Will also play out for some people out there as well for your sign. What I love about this month for you is that it has this wonderful balance between achievement and doing things out in the world, doing big things out in the world, but also being comfortable with you and nurturing a dream and knowing who you really are. When you've got that balance playing out as wonderfully as it is now, just about anything becomes possible to you.